Dear Church, let's talk Herald of Truth Ministries with Chase Turner. Hello and welcome to the Dear Church podcast. I'm your host, Chris McCurley. Excited to have Chase Turner with us today. Chase, you're kind of an old pro at this. You've been on the podcast a few times and excited to have you back.
Well, thanks. It's always good to visit, Chris. Really appreciate the podcast and just getting to listen to all the people that you bring on, and an honor to be one of those people.
Well, you are an honored guest. We always appreciate your perspective and want to have you on today to talk a little bit about a new work for you as you are now I guess the head honcho, is that the official title? President, chief executive, I don't know what the title is exactly, but Herald of Truth Ministries. And you are now taking that on. Tell us a little bit about how that came about.
Well, I'm going to have to change my business card to head honcho now. That sounds pretty good. No, they've asked me to serve as the president, the CEO, and what I've told a lot of people is, it seems like a small title with a lot of responsibilities, but it's a lot of fun and a lot of exciting things that we'll get to visit about today. But it kind of came about. I was brought on board 2 years ago to really focus in on Spanish America and South Central America outreach. And when the former president had seen some of the things that I'd been able to accomplish through the church and through other ministries, he brought me on board to expand what the Herald of Truth was doing at the time. And just over the course of 2 years, really became involved in some of the administrative side of things. And just due to some different transitional reasons, I was asked to serve in this capacity, and I'm excited to do so.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are excited for you to do so. And I know I am, because I've been involved with Herald of Truth probably about the same amount of time that you have recently came on board and doing some things with them. And I really appreciate the direction they're headed now. I mean, I know that they have been around for a long time. Talk a little bit about Herald of Truth, maybe what you know about the roots, but what their main mission is, what they're trying to accomplish.
Sure. So 1952 seems like a long time ago. It was long before my time, but that was when the ministry started. And it started on the radio, then went to television broadcast, and due to technology expenses back in those days, they decided to step back from the television, but kind of stayed on the radio a little bit longer, and then got open some doors in Spain and in Cuba and Nicaragua. And so they went international and had a lot of focus there. And then several years ago, got back into more focused on domestic work. And we have an amazing staff in Abilene right now. Tim Archer still oversees our mission work. We've been in Cuba for 30 years. We'll be in Cuba in March of next year to celebrate 30 years there. And Steve Ridgel still does our domestic work, does an amazing job with seminars for anybody that's been to our SOAR event. He just does a great job. And when you ask about kind of what our tagline is or what we do, the thing that attracted me the most to the ministry when I came on board was share the story of Jesus. And that's in a nutshell what we do. And so we try to help local churches, both in English and in Spanish, do just that, share the story of Jesus. And that's going to be our focus moving forward as well.
Yeah, talk a little bit about what you bring to the table, because I know you're bilingual, you've done mission work in South America. Talk a little bit about that and how that is so helpful to this ministry.
Sure. So really right out of the gate in college, I was invited to go to Honduras, and that was in 2003. And that's really what springboarded me into Spanish work. And so I changed my major to Spanish after my first trip to Honduras. And I've spent the last 21 years going back and forth to Honduras and sprinkled several other countries in there. For 15 years, my primary work was online training. And so I developed some websites with Larry White, and all of his life's work for 50 years we put online. And that really exploded. And the online presence was huge. The network grew around the world. And so the network that God has blessed me with around the U.S., around the world, and the experiences with helping either Spanish-speaking or bilingual churches has really aided in developing a mission that we'll carry out for the next 28 years, which will bring us to 2052, which is our 100-year anniversary. And so the goal that I now have is to plant 100 Spanish-speaking ministries or to enhance Spanish-speaking ministries that already exist. And the experience that I've had, God's been so good to put people in my life that have supported the mission, but also been actively involved in the mission as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So talk about, what other work you're doing. You've been in Louisiana now for how long?
We've been here for 15 years. And
you're working with the church there as well?
Yes. So we planted one Spanish-speaking church in Monroe, and we are right on the cusp of planting one in West Monroe right now. Esteban Valle Garcia moved here from Nicaragua, and he's worked with One Kingdom, which is an international relief, but also share the story of Jesus ministry. And so we're going to be working together to plant another Spanish-speaking church here, and Ouachita Parish is the parish we live in, but West Monroe now. And I'm excited. There are so many Hispanics that live here that need to know the story of Jesus. And so I'm excited to get to do that locally again. Yeah.
What church is that connected with that you work with there?
So we're at the Whites Ferry Road Church of Christ. And it's amazing leadership there. They see the vision. They're behind it 100%. And like I said, in a town of 60,000, I think we're around 8,000 to 10,000 Hispanics. And so there's just a huge opportunity. And Esteban is a great evangelist, great speaker, but he loves people and loves sharing Jesus with them. So I'm excited to get to work with him.
Are you doing some traveling with Herald of Ministries? Are you going, I guess you're still going to Honduras?
Yes. So we still are in Honduras the first week of June, which you're more than welcome to come if you're able. If anybody wants to come on that trip, we'll go in June and July, I believe. And so those are trips that encompass a lot of things, a lot of humanitarian work. But I tell everybody that comes on those trips, whatever your focus is, that's what we want to provide for you. So if your focus is 100% door knocking and sharing Jesus with people, I'll give you a translator. You can do it until you can't speak. If you're a construction buff and you want to build houses every day, we'll make that happen. And anything between visiting kids, feeding people, clothing, all those kinds of things. We'll do evangelism seminars while we're there as well. And I'll be in Cuba, like I said, next year as well. And then traveling around the U.S., we have 11 partner churches right now with our MESA program, which is Mission Evangelize Spanish America. And that's one of the most exciting ministry opportunities I've seen in my career, because it's the fastest growing demographic in the U.S. And with that in mind, we've got to be mindful of reaching those people. And so there are a lot of Anglo churches that have realized there are so many Hispanics in our area, no one is offering them anything. And so I'm working hands-on, either traveling to help people get things started, a lot of Zoom meetings. But we have 3 churches in Ripley, Mississippi right now that are working together to do one Spanish-speaking church plant. And in fact, tonight they have their second English class that they've offered. 2 weeks ago, 15 people showed up to the first one, and they had one lady. They were handing out flyers to say, share the news. And she said, what if I bring too many people next time? And they said, it's not going to happen. And so, but we're in Pueblo, Colorado, Mount Dora, Florida, Green Bay, Wisconsin, several in Texas, California. So we're spread out all over the U.S., helping churches reach Hispanics in their area.
Yeah, I love the mission. I love the goal. Talk a little bit about some of the folks that you've pulled in to help with this effort. I know that you are taking material from other preachers and things and making it to where it can be broadcast. I know that's one of the main missions or one of the main tools that you guys use. Talk about some of the other tools that you use in order to get the word out there.
Sure. So right now on the commercial side of things, which it's interesting to get back to radio and commercial and really focus in on the Spanish. But we also do some English, talk about that in a second. But with all of our MESA partners, we customize commercials so that each one of their preachers or teachers, whomever, can be the face for those commercials, so that when we advertise them, people come to what they're seeing advertised on the radio and the television. We customize websites for everybody. Every church will get an app, all those kinds of things. But each preacher in each location, we're going to utilize them as the face. It's not me. People don't need to see my face. They need to see the locals that are doing the work. Truth Digital Media Radio is the 24/7 radio. And that's been real encouraging for a lot of people. It is 100% a cappella music. It has your podcast on it. It's got different bumpers from people that just supply some things. Chris Howard has a great podcast for kids and families. She's on there. Trey Morgan's on there. My dad's on there, his leadership stuff, Bob Turner. And we've got a handful of others. Ben and Travis have a podcast that's on there. They do a great job.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's a lot of fun to get to pull from so many different people and put them in the same place. So it's a good hub for people to just get on there. They can download the website on their phone, create the app on their phone, but it's truthdigitalmedia.org, and it's 24/7. And anytime people want to listen, they can dial in.
Yeah, it's a great tool. I know I've tinkered with it a little bit, listened to it, and man, you got some star-studded guys on there and ladies that do a fantastic job. And I guess I want to ask you, as being new to the job, you may not have been able to think this through completely, but put you on the spot a little bit. Kind of what's your vision going forward? What are some of the ideas that you have? Because every new guy puts their stamp on things, right? So kind of what are you thinking future-wise, things that you'd like to implement and do?
So one of the, I'm not going to say the most important things, but I think in the church, we need to have educated men and women. And I don't mean preacher training, although that can certainly be beneficial, but we need people that understand culture and education and language. And so one of my goals, as you know, the vision will be to plant 100 churches. And that would be roughly 3 a year from now until 2052. And what I would like to see happen is that we can develop relationships with our Christian universities and mentor students that go through their Bible department or their Spanish-speaking department, so that as they leave those universities, if they're going to move anywhere, we can put them in touch with a Spanish-speaking church so they can be involved in ministry. And what I would like to see happen before they graduate is for one of our Mesa partners to be able to offer them an internship, so that if for a month of a summer they say, I'd like to get my feet wet with bilingual ministry, then I can call the people in Green Bay or Colorado, or if they prefer Florida and it's hotter, wherever they would like to spend a month, work out an internship to where they can really help themselves learn a lot, but really it'd be a help to the church to have an extra person there that can help facilitate things for a month or 2 months or whatever that looks like. But I also teach Spanish classes every Tuesday at noon for anybody that's associated with us. I send out a Zoom link, the digital textbook, all that's free. But I would like to be able to offer that kind of mentorship language stuff for Americans that are studying Spanish in universities, might need a little bit of help that can supplement what they're doing, but also kind of walk them through the educational process and be connected with as many universities as we can to help put more educated people in the church planning process moving forward.
Yeah. How many participating churches do you have right now?
We have 11 that have either been planted from scratch, or that we're enhancing, or that we're in the process of talking to develop.
Gotcha. And so as far as supporting the work with Herald of Truth, I know you said you travel around. I know you have others that travel and help raise support. What can, to get the word out to other churches, what can they do to support the work at Herald of Truth?
Sure. One of the things that we're doing right now, Harding has their lectureships in September. And so we'll be there, and it's kind of a stories of old and then kind of a vision for the future, looking at some fun things there. But anybody that has a passion or a vision for doing a Spanish-speaking church plant, I will visit with anybody that wants to do that. And if you said, look, we live in Alaska, there are no Hispanics here, but financially we could help you plant a church either in Honduras or wherever. I've got a church in El Paso that has 5 different great outreaches. They just don't have the budget to really market what they're doing. And so for 100, 200, 400 a month, we could really put the word out there for their church, develop what they need so that they can reach more people. And so if people wanted to, as an individual or as a church, get involved with the partnership, we always try to give back to our partners. And so if a church says, hey, I'd like to sponsor this, we'd still like to help you with your local work, even if it's not Hispanic. And so anybody that comes on board with us, whether it's leadership training, my dad has offered to be involved in that and helping churches develop vision and mission. If they need seminars or something like that, we've got guys who'll come and do that in English if they really want to beef up some of their English stuff. But anybody that wants to partner with us, be a part of those 100 church plants, would love to visit with them about how to do that, where their money goes. Part of my vision with the MESA program is to have a completely bilingual staff. And what that allows for is if we have 50 churches, in 15 years, I can't manage everything, and I'm not naive enough to think I can do it all, And so I need everybody on my staff capable of saying, hey, I'm going to mentor these 5 churches. I'll touch base every week, make sure things are well. And in South America, we have 3 people that are doing that for us right now. But as we grow, our staff needs to be mostly bilingual so that we can aid anybody that needs our help.
Yeah, and so when you're planting these churches or enhancing these churches, whichever it may be, how much time are you spending with them? Are you going out to those congregations weekly, monthly? What does that process look like?
So I touch base either email or on the phone every week with our Spanish-speaking churches. And the ones in Cuba and in Nicaragua, I touch base with our guys there. With Honduras, good friend of mine's our missionary there, which they host all of our mission trips. But everybody in the U.S., like the church in Mississippi, this was kind of funny. I've told everybody, if you don't have somebody bilingual to get started, but you have the volunteers, you can use my phone number for all of your advertising. And anybody that calls me, I'll make sure they get to the right place, and then you guys can do the evangelism from there. And so the churches in Mississippi, I helped them create a flyer. We do all of the social media, tech development, anything that somebody needs so that they don't have to have a hired technician that does all of their things for them. And so this church in Mississippi, Winston Smith, great human being, had such a love for Jesus and people. I've been working with him every week. And the first flyer that we put out was so funny. My phone started blowing up. All 15 people that showed up called me first and say, tell me about the free English classes. And so we like to be that go-between. So I stay in touch with Winston perhaps a little bit more right now than I do the others. But try to touch base every week with people and then just answer questions they might have, help them develop the materials they want to promote. If there was one part of my job that I could do all day, every day, it would be talking with leadership about how they can effectively reach Hispanics in their area. That's where my heart is. And there's a lot of other things that I need to do so that the ministry can be successful in many facets, but that's certainly where my passion's at.
And I guess you do quite a bit of that. I mean, if an eldership wanted to talk to you or sit down with you even about, starting a Spanish-speaking congregation in their area, then they could do that.
Absolutely. I'm on Zoom a lot. So the churches in Pueblo, it's just so much more cost-effective. If a church wants me to come in person for some reason, I try to Zoom once or twice first to really, value their time and obviously to value the ministry's time, because the bigger this gets, the less time I will personally have to be involved with every single one.
Sure.
But I love to have my hands in everything that we do, even if just, a fingernail. I like to be able to know what's going on so I can help people.
Yeah. Well, Chase, tell us a contact. How do folks get a hold of you if they want to touch base with you?
My cell phone number's on our website. I give my personal information out to everybody, which can be dangerous, I suppose. But Chase at heraldoftruth.org is my email. My cell phone's 501-339-3339. and I'm open anytime. If I don't answer right away, I will always respond as soon as I can and help in whatever way that I can.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're so glad that you are in that position, leading Herald of Truth. Appreciated Greg, who came before you and the work that he did to kind of give a different direction maybe, or a definite direction where, I know that, by their own admission, Herald Truth had kind of, wavered for a little while. There was talk about would it fold or would it keep going? And so I appreciate the upward trend here recently and the direction that it's going. And I think with you at the helm, that's just only going to get better. So thank you for the work that you're doing there. And before we let you get away, tell us a little bit about, how things are going personally. How's your family?
Family is healthy and well. My wife is Kristen. She's about to start a doctoral program in theology. I'm super proud of her. She studies, as much as anybody I know, super smart. Got 4 kiddos. One's about to start. She gets her driver's license in January. She'll be 16 then. And then we have 2 in middle school, one playing football, one on a pep squad. And then we have a 7-year-old that runs our house. And so it's a lot of energy, a lot of fun. And so Monday through Friday, I stay really busy. And Friday at 5, we start our Sabbath practice, and I pretty well shut everybody out. So I gave my cell phone, I gave my email, but if it's after 5 on Friday, expect a little bit of time before I get back with you. Yeah.
I'm the same way, and I appreciate that very much. And, Chase, thank you so much for being on today. And I want to tell our guests that if you have a question about today's episode, you can email me at chris.mccurley@rippleoflight.com. If you have a specific question for Chase, he gave his email, but if you want to send it to me, I'll forward it on to him. And I'm sure Chase would be willing to answer any questions that you might have. Chase, thanks again for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us.
Hey, it is my pleasure. Always a pleasure. Look forward to next time in Nashville. I'm going to look you up so we can at least have lunch.
Absolutely. Let's do that. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Until next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. Sincerely, Chris.